Hello, everybody. Welcome to CIM 23 in Montreal. We are on the final day, and I'm excited to have Fenner Dunlop and Nuera Industrial on Mining Now for this episode. Today, we have two guests joining us. It will be Julie Courchesne, and I just rolled my R, that's wrong, but that's okay, and Carl Bouchard.
Yes.
Good job.
Hi.
Welcome back. Carl, it's
Thank
your
you.
third time on the
Yeah,
show.
it's the third. Yeah, it's the third podcast that we're doing with you guys.
Absolutely. And Julie, it's your first time.
It
So
is.
maybe,
Maybe not last.
yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
Maybe start out with your role, your company, because
Yep.
obviously it's a different name. So let's jump into that first.
Sure. So I do work for Nuera Industrial. We're a distributor of conveyor belts. We're located mainly in Quebec region, south of the Ontario, and selling in Labrador also. It's been founded in 1995.
Okay.
We do have 5 branches. And I guess that's pretty much it. And Fenner is our main manufacturer of belts that we distribute.
Okay. Excellent. And what is your background, your expertise in this sector as well?
Actually, I've been with Nuera for 7 years,
Okay.
and I started in the lightweight industry, so like small conveyor belts for food industry and stuff
Right.
like that.
Right.
And I think it was a really good school because everything is small, but you need to be really precise.
Okay.
And then I took over the heavyweight side, so quarries and wood industries and
Okay.
stuff like that. And since a few years now, I'm mostly handling the mining
Okay, excellent.
sector.
I'll jump over to you quick,
Sure.
Carl,
Yes.
just to give for people that are watching the first time, just give you a quick rundown of well, it doesn't have to be quick, but your background, your expertise.
Sure. Well, I'm the national director of sales for Fenner Dunlop. So we at Fenner we manufacture belt. We're one of the oldest company manufacturing belt. 1861 that Fenner was founded. So we manufacture belt in North America. We have one plant in Ontario. We're the only heavyweight belt manufacturer in Canada right now. So and we work with distributors. So we have distributor to cover every province in the country.
Excellent.
And Nuera looks after Quebec and Southern Ontario and Labrador, like Julie said. They are full-fledged, distributor. They have service. They stock. They carry our product. So it's they're a premium partner for us.
Fantastic. What is a relationship like between your two companies? Can you delve into that a little bit more as well?
Meaning, well, between the two companies.
Yeah, like Fenner and Nuera. So they're obviously a distributor. How did that come about? So 'cause Nuera started in you said
Well,
95, right?
95.
Yeah. Well, and Nuera was when they started. They had the Fenner line back then.
Okay.
So since day one, they've been the Fenner distributor.
Distributor.
Yeah,
Okay.
from a long time ago.
The when you're working that closely together because you handle this eastern region, is there a lot of there must be a lot of information sharing as well between the two?
Definitely, definitely. And we like to go
Yeah.
together on the road also.
Okay.
So either with Carl or with Joe in Ontario also. Yeah, so we go together, see customers, and then I can handle all the commercial side of it. And if I need more expertise, like being even more technical, then Fenner people can help me
Right.
and make sure we have the right belt for the application.
How have you found it? Like obviously in mining, there's a lot of it's largely male in the industry. That's you're seeing people are trying to change that now with a lot of these programs throughout universities and that we actually talked about that in some of our earlier episodes.
Okay.
How have you found as you come through the industry?
Actually, I would say that in the mining industry, I don't see such a difference. Like
Hmm.
like 10 years ago or something in like other industries, sometimes like I felt like customer were testing me because I'm a woman.
Okay.
And but in the mining, this doesn't happen, and I'm glad to see that actually.
Right.
It feels like they don't see any difference between like me being a man or a woman, and they're mostly looking into my competencies and when I can bring to them, right?
Let's talk about our heavy industry tour brought to you by Savannah Equipment, supplying mining equipment worldwide, and Corporate Traveler Canada, helping companies travel the globe simpler, faster, and easier. We are heading to events across North America, Africa, and Australia, and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry World Tour. Mine Vision Systems is a mining technology company focused on providing actionable insights from the digitization of a mine. When a mine is digitized, predictive insights become possible. Mine Vision's flagship product, the Face Capture TM mapping system, is a differentiated solution that has a direct impact on production, efficiency, and worker safety. Face Capture is designed for the ore control geologists that make multiple daily decisions impacting the direction and profitability of a mine. Precise and real-time information provided by Face Capture optimizes decision making. Face Capture is designed to eliminate trade-offs between time, precision, and worker safety. Visit mindvisionsystems.com for more information. Created and designed by industry leaders with decades of frontline experience, Sophie is a platform that brings workers home every day. Give your workforce the communication tools they need on the job to do it safely and productively. Visit Sophie.com today to discover how you can leverage Sophie to increase efficiencies, mitigate risk, and optimize collaboration. Safer, smarter, Sophie. North Isle's mission is to be Canada's leading sustainable resource company and is on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol NCX. North Isle owns the North Island Project, the most developable copper-gold project in Canada. The North Island Project has compelling project economics, is near infrastructure, has tremendous exploration upside, and has leading-edge Indigenous engagement and support from all levels of government. 2023 could be the biggest year yet. Learn more by visiting northisle.ca or by calling them at 778-638-2515 or emailing them at info@northisle.ca.
When you went into, you said now you're working mainly in the mining.
Yeah.
Did you get to go on site at some of these mining operations to see the scale of what they needed in that belting?
Oh yeah, definitely. And well, but a conveyor is a conveyor. It's just the pulleys are bigger. The belts are like thicker and like not the same. Obviously, special belts and stuff like that. But a conveyor is a conveyor. So yeah, I was really impressed actually to be in the mining industry and look at those huge equipment. But
Yes.
all the specifics of the conveyor do apply to the conveyor is the same, right? Like if you're having tracking issues, whether it's a long conveyor, wide conveyor, shorter conveyor, it's the same tracking issues, right? So just bigger equipment, but same thing. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
What's interesting about mining customer, if you compare, to other industry, let's say mining customer, if the conveyor goes down, the losses are important.
Yeah.
So mining customer are the one that we can open up on productivity and tailor the offer to to really offer the best conveyor, the best product possible, the best
Right.
conveyor belt possible.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And that's one of the things that Julie does. So she's gonna bring the customer on a discussion of what's the mode of failure, what she's gonna look at the issue that they have, and then she come back and she will offer them, a tailor-made solution. So that's the intent behind all this.
Do you end up, you said you end up going out with Carl at some, like to these shows, obviously, and then also, does that happen when you're working with your mining clients as well? Do you both provide that?
Yeah, sometimes, like she said at the beginning, most of the time she's very autonomous. She's
Yep.
gonna do, she's gonna do her visit most of the time by herself. But
Right.
if she needs for a very specific situation, if she needs the support for from the manufacturer, either myself or one of my territory account manager can go with her, and to make sure that we tailor made the solution
Okay.
to the need of the customer.
Right. Actually, that brings me, we were talking about it when we were doing some of the, like as we were leading up to this, you actually were New Era. So Carl, you and I talked about this back in the first episode that we had you on about well, I called it bulletproof belting.
Yeah.
And so can you tell me about that product and kind of what's happened here in Canada with that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, there's a lot of mining customer that's got problems under the crusher, right? Because it's the material is huge. It's falling from really high
Right.
and right into the belts, and they get issues with rip and tear of the belts, and sometimes the belts last a week to 6 months
That's
if you're
all.
lucky.
Oh,
And
wow.
they like to say that after 6 months, it looks like Frankenstein. It's full of clips in there. You could sell it to the metal people and make a lot of money
Yeah,
out of it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're always looking for a greater life expectancy because every time conveyor stops, they need to call in. And if they're like up north somewhere, like by the time people comes in, might take 2 days, and that's all production loss. And we're talking $1 million there most of the time. So that Kevlar belt actually, it's a Kevlar. It's like those like what the policemen use, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bullet is not going to go through you, right? So we can easily imagine that it's going to be pretty much the same with the rock
Right.
falling on the belt. So Fenner Dunlop came up with that. Do you want to talk about the Coreflex a
Yeah.
bit more?
Yeah. Well, Kevlar is a brand name from DuPont, but the belt we sell it's iron and fiber. So the idea behind all this, and it's not a new concept. This belt was, has been developed by Fenner a while back, but it's not everybody who's gonna invest in this kind of equipment.
Right.
So you really need the right application and the customer who really have issues with their belt and they want to reduce their downtime. So we sell significant some of those belts in South America. South America, they have large copper mine, for example,
Yes.
with the lump size is big, like Julie said, high drop, and it just punctures the belt. So the idea behind all this is, if you don't puncture a belt, you're not going to rip it or tear it apart. We need to prevent the puncture. It's the puncture that will cause those rip and those tears.
Right.
So the aramid belt, the Cordflex, has a very, good resistance to impact and rip and tear because it's very difficult to puncture the belt. So the idea behind all this is not only to increase the life of the belt, but also to minimize or almost eliminate downtime between the belt change out.
They don't need to repair it anymore,
Yeah.
right? They might have to repair the cover once in a while or something, but at least like there's no rip.
Actually, when you say about the cover, so that could be replaced.
Not replaced, but could be repaired. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
just to make sure we're all on the same, the rubber layer on top of the belt carcass.
Yes.
We call it the cover.
Yeah.
So this is just it's regular rubber, and the rubber is made depending on the application. Is it a cut and gouge application or abrasion? Depending on the material we carry. But the carcass, the rubber is only there to protect the carcass.
Right.
It's the sole function of it.
Your investment, right?
Yeah. So we need to put the best rubber possible when we have an aramid belt. But
Definitely.
That makes sense.
yeah.
Cleario custom creates 3D and immersive experiences, presentations, and apps. Use this amazing technology to promote projects or products, communicate plans and outcomes to stakeholders, train your employees and customers, hold virtual meetings around the world with your project's data. For infrastructure, environmental, and industrial projects, Cleario's expertise converts your spatial data into holographic 3D scenes or full applications that tell your story in a compelling and intuitive way. It's time to join the metaverse for the real world. Learn more at cleario.studio. Okay, so let's give a special thank you to one of our longest sponsors of the show, Savona Equipment. And I'm actually going to hand it over to Jared so that he can give you a little bit more info on Savona Equipment.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, people see them as sponsors, so they'll ask me, kind of who they are, what they are, and just trying to understand the scope of the company. So Savona Equipment is a mining supply company, and they're delivering on the whole equipment supply chain. So everything from the ore processing to underground mining, open pit. They're in hard rock and placer operations. And what they're doing is they're sourcing equipment from all over the world and then delivering it all over the world. Now, they are a Canadian company, so they're based there. But, let's say, they're selling entire ore processing plants. So there might be a plant down in Latin America, and there's a new mine that needs that plant in Africa or somewhere in the U.S. So they're facilitating that entire transactions. But they're also delivering, an individual conveyor or a concentrator or a pump package or just an electrical package. So it really is the whole gambit of the mining equipment supply chain.
Oh, that's great then. Well, then you definitely have to check them out. If you're looking for mining equipment, visit them at savonaequipment.com, where you will find more equipment every day. The metals and mining industry bears a significant responsibility for meeting the dual challenge of growing demand for resources and rising standards of living from an increasing global population, while also addressing the sustainability goals of the future. Aspen Technology is here to partner with industry leaders and help them achieve those objectives with solutions in areas of advanced process controls and asset performance management that utilize artificial intelligence and machine learning to optimize their mining operations for both profitability and environmental responsibility. With Aspen Tech, you'll not only reduce downtime and improve safety, but also minimize waste, lower emissions, and improve operational efficiencies. Their expert team is always available to provide support and guidance, ensuring that you reach your operational and sustainability goals. Aspen Tech, empowering the metals and mining industry to meet the dual challenge. Learn more at aspentech.com.
With this aramid belt, what led you to have that discussion with that client of yours?
Actually, they had a lot of pain because the belt is ripping all the time, and it doesn't last really long, and production is down all the time. It cost them a fortune.
Yeah.
And then we asked them information concerning the height of the chute to see the material, and apparently it falls from a bucket and sometimes like 14 meters right
Oh, okay.
to the belt, and the material is big also. And then what we like to do is we ask them to fill in a form with all the information of the conveyor, just to make sure like we don't forget anything, and we know like the motor power and all of this, because depending on all of these components on the conveyor, not all belts can fit there, right? Some of them might not have the perfect troughing into the idlers on the top.
Okay.
It would just like be like this. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to make sure it fits well and it's strong enough.
Yeah.
So we did like all that analysis. Actually, Fenner does the analysis. So I
Oh,
gather
okay.
the information. Fenner does the analysis, and that's where we work together again, right? And then they come back to me with, okay, Julie, like we think this would be the best belt for the customer. It's the Ermide belt. Like we've got a bunch of customers that already experienced that belt, and it's been on for like 10 years on some conveyors.
Yeah.
So it made a huge difference for these customers, and that's where we came up with that, because all the other belts, even the Osflex, that's really good for rip and tear also, like this one
Yeah.
is like
This one
bit more.
is one notch above.
yeah.
When you say it goes, all that analytics goes to Fenner as well. Are you using like technical, like are you using like data points, like
Yes.
computer analysis on this as well?
We're gonna it's a program what we call the Belt Wizard.
Oh, okay. The
So
belt
we,
wizard.
we
Okay.
entered all the information about the conveyor, the motor horsepower, time and tonnage, and all this. So we want to make sure that we offer a belt that will trough properly on this conveyor, that
Right.
will go around the pulleys. We just want to make sure that the belt will be the best belt possible for the application. So that's why we use this. It's an internal program called Belt Wizard.
Okay.
So that's with this one, with this tool, we can confirm that the belt we're gonna have like the stretch will be appropriate for the take up that we got, and the belt will trough because the flexibility is there, and all those.
The type of splice we want to have.
And all those information to make sure that there's no hiccups once we install it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of, you need all those specs, because then obviously you could find out how basically that belt will outperform anything else.
Yeah, we need to make sure, right, that it's going to
Right.
do a better job than what customers got currently. So that's where it's really important to understand what's going on the conveyor, what's causing the failures, and then we're sure to go like with the perfect belt.
Right. Right. Is there with your problem solving that you're doing with Nuera as well? Is there another standout like project or application that you've worked on as well?
Yeah, actually, we did work on a lot of projects, but let's say like sometimes customers do have a problem where the cover's wearing real fast. And actually, when we're comparing two belts, we're gonna look at the DIN index,
Okay.
and this is the abrasion index actually. And the lower the number, the better it is. Should I explain how the DIN
Yeah, why
works?
not?
Yeah, absolutely. Just for anybody that,
Yeah.
especially if they're in the mining, then it might resonate as well.
Oh yeah, sure. So all the manufacturers of belting, what they do is they take a carat of the belt and they put it on a sanding disc, always the same grit, same amount of time, and they look at how much rubber has been removed from the top cover.
Okay.
And they calculate that in cubic millimeter. So if we say that we have a belt that's got a din of 70, so there are 70 millimeters, cubic millimeters that got removed during
Yeah.
that test. So that's like the abrasion we see on the field, right? And what we like to offer a customer that's got a problem with the abrasion is the ZR3 compound, which has got a din of 20 cubic millimeter.
Okay.
So everything being equal, most of the time, customer have about 70 in the field in the mining industry. That's what we see mostly. So everything being equal, customer is gonna have his belt last there 3.5 times longer.
Okay.
It's a huge saving for them.
Right.
Saving downtime, saving on like all the splices that you need to do, like 3.5 less splices.
Do you find that a lot of your clients, once you first bring them in and they understand why they should have a Fenner product, that they're going to come back and keep using that
Oh yeah.
long term?
Oh yeah, definitely. They never go back.
No.
We have on
No, no.
those application, like those very specific, tough application.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
Repeat business. Yeah. Oh yeah,
because-
definitely.
Yeah.
With that process, I'm always interested because a lot of the technology we cover and like the applications and the products, it could be like a pretty long sales cycle. Do you find that as well in the
Yeah.
mining?
It is like that belt we were talking about. It took me about 3 years to sell it.
Right.
But the thing is, now that this customer like found a solution with us, they're like, okay, Julie, look at these conveyors,
Right.
Now, like, I proved them that we were looking at all the specifics and that we're professional and we want to make sure that they understand all the specs of the belt and we
Yep.
can compare it with the one they have and say, here, see, this is a goal. Here, see where you're going to have the gain. And that's interesting for engineers on the field
Yes.
to be able to talk technical and get the right solution.
Yeah, I get. Carl, have you seen an increase too in like education being really important for those, like for your distributors to be able to provide to the mine
Yes.
engineers?
Yeah, and that's the as a manufacturer, that's one of our role to educate our distributor and our distributor sales personnel so they can explain, to the end user, mine user, which why this one will be better than this one because you have to go on the data of the conveyor belt if you really want to evaluate what you're buying because there's nothing that looks more like a conveyor belt to another black conveyor belt, but just
That's
by
the thing.
looking at it.
That's the thing.
If
They
you
are.
buy, if you buy equipment, let's say heavy equipment, you're gonna see, you're gonna see the equipment, you're gonna sit in it, you're gonna see what we can call the apparent quality. It's harder to do that with conveyor belt. It's a piece of when you look at it, it's like a big giant hockey puck.
You're not seeing the what's in between.
Yeah,
No,
not as
not
as
always.
good as you could. So you have to discuss the physical characteristic of the belt, and that's what Nuera among our like other distributors, they're
Yep.
very good at doing.
Right.
They're bringing the customer on the data of the belt, which at the end of the day, that's what makes the difference.
And then going into one of the other product lines that is offered, it's the I think you mentioned about the I would
Yes,
say
that-
ZR3.
Yeah,
But
ZR3 is a compound.
right,
So it's a rubber compound that we put on a carcass.
right.
But another if we can say flagship belt
Yep.
that we have is the S-Flex.
Right. And is that have you seen a lot with your distribution? Have you seen a lot with like people taking that up as well?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
any examples?
Oh yeah, like I remember a customer telling me once, like he used to have regular plied belts, and like there was a rod that got into his system and ripped the whole belt, right? And that would happen like too often, unfortunately, or a liner falling into the chute or whatever.
Right.
And now that he's been using the Osflex, he said, Julie, I couldn't believe it. There's a rod that went into it and it pulled out, and I only had a small hole to repair.
Really?
It changes their life. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very good product.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while. It's our premium carcass of belt.
Okay.
It's part of the X series. So what we call
Right.
the X series, the S Flex is one of those. Cord Flex obviously is one, but the one that we sell most often is the S Flex. We also have the Nova X. Nova X is a dual crimp carcass.
Okay.
Different than the straight warp of the S-Flex, the way that the carcass is made. But it's a very good product. It's very flexible, very high rip and tear resistance.
Right.
Julie sold, you sold one of those Nova X in the mine, and the mine used to run a ply belt, and they used to run like, a hamburger this big, like lots of ply, because they had rip and tear.
Yeah.
And we
Small
sold,
ply.
we ran a belt wizard with
Mhm.
on this conveyor. It came out that, one of the Nova X would be a good fit for that conveyor. We installed the Nova X, and
They were skeptical actually when
Yeah.
they received
Yeah,
it. They
yeah.
were like, "Are you sure? Like
it was
this is
so much
it was
smaller.
yeah, it was because people always think like, oh, we're having problems. We're just gonna get it like more cover, more
Yeah.
plies, but then more plies means more tension, more bearing problems, more pulling
Right.
problems. So you're stressing the whole process, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't always make sense to do that. And like the Osflex is like it's really flexible belt.
yeah.
We do a finger splice on these. So instead of doing step splices like that, where you are removing one ply
Yeah.
in the splice. So if it's a 600 PIW belt, you're gonna have 400 PIW in the splice, and this could be problematic sometimes. So with the finger splice, we keep at least 90% of the tension in the splice, and it's really flexible to go around the pulleys, and the
Okay.
take ups,
Yep.
and sometimes they've got like this. So yeah, so you want to make sure that this moves really well.
I actually didn't even think of that. So yeah, when you get that thinner, when you can replace that thickness with thinner, then all of a sudden the entire conveyor has less stress.
Definitely.
Well, it's easier to run, less energy consumption.
Yeah.
And you need less material. We talk about decarbonizing the world.
Yeah, decarbonization.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you'd need less material to make a belt, and it's when you think about it, ply belt have been around forever.
Yes.
It's like for generations.
Mhm.
But the X series are really the future. It's a different way of making the carcass and bringing it to the market
Right.
with a better, rip, tear, and puncture resistance. And at the end of the day, that's what makes the difference. If you take a Nova X, for example, the fastener retention is greater, much greater than a ply belt. So if by any chance, we end up with a puncture, which it's much harder to puncture, but if we have to repair it, the fastener retention will be greater, and the fastener will hold,
Better.
much better. So
Okay.
the customer can repair the belt. I'm not talking. Let's say there's a hole, they
Yep.
can fix it, or there's a bit of like the one who had wired through it. You just fix it with fastener, and the belt keeps on going, and
Right.
it's just so it's much more efficient. It's a much more efficient way of
And less material too to manufacture that
Correct.
whole thing, which of course goes into decarbonization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
less power to turn the conveyor as well.
Right.
So,
Right.
So yeah,
Less
no,
stress on the components.
everybody wins.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Julie does. When we want the customer, when they replace their conveyor belt, they're gonna put this belt away. We want the belt to have no more cover left on it.
Right.
So we want a carcass that will withstand the operation while they wear their cover.
Right.
It would be, replacing a belt will still have rubber on the cover is like changing your tires when you still have thread.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to do that. So we want to provide the best carcass possible, the
Yeah.
best, So depending on maybe we can talk a little bit about the mode of failure, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Please. Please.
so that's where we make a difference
So the mode of failure of the cover or the carcass itself.
as of the
Both.
belt itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that'd be really interesting to unpack a little bit too.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's where I like to have them talk to me first and tell me where their pain is. Right? What's your worst conveyor? Give that to me, and we'll give it a try with that one. Right?
Oh, okay.
And then so they tell us about the failure mode, and then we look at the components on the conveyor. Sometimes we see that something is affecting the belt on the conveyor, so we might suggest them to make modifications to the conveyor itself.
Okay.
So it's not a sale for me, but it's helping the customer. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then when my belt's going to be on, it's going to be even better, right? So
Exactly.
everybody's winning.
Yeah.
And I like to ask them like, what's the life expectancy you're looking for?
Yeah.
Like we would expect customer would say, oh, forever, but they're not like that. They
Yeah.
know it's
Yeah.
a consumable. Actually, belt is a
Yes.
consumable, right?
Yes.
So they know they'll go
Like
through.
tires.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Exactly the same. So yeah. So usually they're good at telling me like, okay, like my belt, I'd like it to last twice as much. Let's say, okay, perfect. So here's what I can offer you, right? So we can get to that, and yeah. So then we talked about the belt wizard. We do the full analysis. Fenner provides me with a
Yeah.
quotation. Then I come back to the customer for the commercial side of it, right? Um, and um, and that's it, I guess.
One thing that you do that is interesting is if a customer, like if the mode of failure is the carcass,
Yeah.
we're not going to try to sell them, like the super high-end cover because there's no point. We need to tune, to find the right carcass so the belt lasts longer. Once we have the right carcass, then we were going to go for the right cover. So there's no point, and vice versa. So there's no point, if a customer, never have any puncture, no rip and tear, they're handling fine.
Yeah.
It's a pure abrasion.
I'm gonna keep those plied belts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a perfect application for ply belt because
Yeah.
because there's it's working very good. All we need to do now is to have the right cover, to protect that carcass so the conveyor will last as long as possible.
Exactly.
In closing, I wanted to touch on the X series quickly too. Is this it's getting popular in mining by the sounds of it, and is that spreading to these other industries as well?
Yes, well, the X series have been around for a long time,
Right.
and we're pushing on it, but it seems like in some application, and thanks to some of our distributors, they promote those belt into very harsh application.
Right.
And once we fix one, it makes babies,
Yeah.
so they try it on other conveyors. So
Yeah.
the ratio of ply belt versus the X series is constantly growing in favor
Okay.
of the X series.
That makes sense.
Even in the wood industry, and
Yeah,
yeah, we
like
sit
for
down.
a forestry customer, it's
Yeah.
like they handle basically logs, that will
Yeah.
drop on a belt.
Yeah.
So it's another good place where we can make a difference.
Right.
This-
Yeah. And it's good to touch on just a little bit. We're mining, but that's fine because it's interesting how, like you said, it keeps growing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just as you spread the awareness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
fantastic. Is there any other things you would like to cover? I'll start cover. Huh. I'll start with you, Julie.
So once we have the right belt for the application for the customer, we're gonna have to go install it, right?
Yes, and you do that there.
Yeah,
at
that's
Nuera.
it. So I don't do it myself
No.
with my nails. No, so no, so yeah, so we've got technicians that go on the field. So we need to plan the shutdown with the customer, make sure that if there's interaction between, like, I don't know, they change the liners in the chute. Well, we cannot be like playing around there while they do that. So we need to. There's a lot of planning to be done. Make sure everything works together, and then our technicians go at the customer's place. They splice the belt. They make sure everything runs smoothly, and then it can come back. But yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
it's an
where.
interesting service capability that you
Yeah,
guys got there.
that's where Fenner needs distribution, right?
Yes.
Because else they would need to have all those technicians to
Yes.
handle, and that's not their core business. They manufacture belts, right?
Yeah, would you say the service side of it ends up being a pretty big core for like Nuera?
A prerequisite, like we need to have that.
Yeah, is that it? Does that end up being a lot of your business? Like obviously you're supplying these belts, but then going and doing that technical service, the
Oh yeah,
installations of that.
like we need to have the service, right? Else
Yes.
customers are not gonna buy from us.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not gonna buy from us.
You need
And
those teams.
oh yeah, that all goes together. And I'm not like we're missing so much. Like it's hard to have good employees nowadays, or just employees. Just employees, yeah.
Just employees.
Well,
Yeah.
let's call it the labor shortage.
Yeah, labor
Like,
shortage.
it's huge.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
affecting everything. Yeah.
It is. So that's where I cannot really tell my customers, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go splice belts, but without providing you the belt.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna install my belts, right? Most of the time. That's
That
what we
makes
do.
sense.
But at the end of the day, when you think about it, one of the big advantage, is to, instead of replacing a belt once every year, if we can get the customer a belt that will last 2 years, you just, remove 50%
Less service.
of your labor issues, so
Yep.
and labor shortage. So that's a big plus too.
It is.
Right. That's fantastic. Thank you both for joining. It's
Thank
been
you.
great because having Nuera on and Fenner again, of course. It's we
Thanks
just keep
for having us.
we just keep layering on more and more and more. So it's fantastic.
Cool.
And I'll sign off here. So thank you everybody for watching Mining Now at CIM in Montreal for 2023. Of course, 2024 will be coming up soon. And yeah, thanks everybody. Please subscribe. Please share the content and share the episodes. And we will see you next time on Mining Now.